Hey guys, my name is Steve Kinney. I'm a producer, engineer, and content creator here in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been making music and recording music for well over a decade now. I've spent a lot of money on a lot of things. And just the other day, as I was hanging out in my studio, I looked around at everything and said to myself, wow, I wish I invested in that sooner. So here are 5 things that I wish I invested in as a producer sooner. Now, normally on my channel, I talk a lot about Luna, UAD, and Apollo. However, NOIZ Hub Media has graciously offered me, along with other content creators, a chance to create for their channel and collaborate with them, which is obviously a great thing. So show them how much you appreciate all the collaborations with all the other great content creators so far by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and leave a comment below. I want to know what you wish you invested in sooner in your journey. All right, so number 1 needs no introduction. I wish I invested in a real preamp sooner. There's a definite time need and a place for an uncolored preamp like you'd find on the Apollo or on another interface, particularly when you're not ready to commit to any given direction of what kind of color you want in your sound, like a NOIZ or SSL or API. And of course, those kind of interface preamps give us that freedom to make that color choice in post-production with like a plugin, or maybe run it back out of the box. And that's great. That's a great tool and a definite need in your arsenal. However, the life you will get from a real preamp, there's just nothing like it, and it's so much fun to just crank the preamp, maybe pull back the output gain a little bit, get those extra harmonics. And there's so many great ones to choose from, all the way from the low budget scale all the way up to the high budget scale. So there's really no excuses. And whatever you get, it's going to last you. That's kind of my favorite part of this. It's gonna follow you in your career as you progress from beginner all the way until you decide you want to call it quits and you don't want to make music anymore, which is, hey, let's be honest, never. All right, number 2, room treatment. I cannot think of a single thing that's impacted my mixes and my recordings more than acoustic treatment. And at the same time, it's a horrible thing to try to talk about as a content creator because you actually have to be in the same room to really get the full gravity of how impactful it really is. Now, I use Orlex. I love the company. I think the people there are great and they make great products. And there's plenty of ways to treat a room. You can go the DIY method if your budget's tight. But at any rate, the quality of your sound and your recordings goes through the roof once you treat your room. And I'm telling you, you will never ever want to do without it again. The clarity of your vocal, the clarity of your acoustic guitar, the floor noise, everything gets better when you treat your room. Of course, your mixes are going to get better too. Being in an environment where you're less prone to reflection, obviously that's going to help you. It's going to make your experience better. It's going to make your mixes come out better. So in my opinion, if you had to treat one thing, it'd be like a vocal booth, an overdub booth, or a room where you're going to be tracking your vocals. Start there. That's the forefront of your mix. And I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, well, why don't you treat your listening position first? That's cool, and I get that. But for the most impact on the front side, you're probably going to want to treat your recording environment first. I mean, what good is your listening position if your recording was bad anyway, right? So it's all one big work in progress anyway. So enjoy the process, have fun with it, and treat your room. All right, number 3, kind of piggybacking off of that, is a good pair of headphones. Now, again, on the early side of your career, you got to be thinking that you probably don't have as much funds to invest in all of this stuff. It gets really expensive really quick. I wasted a lot of money on different speakers, cheap computer speakers, desktop sounding studio speakers. And, the thing is that they're good and they're going to help your journey for sure, but that money would have been well better spent on something like a nice pair of headphones. And here's why. If you didn't have a treated room in the first place, you're going to get a more consistent listening and monitoring environment with those headphones. On top of having a consistent listening environment just at your own home studio, you'll have something that you can take with you to other studios. So if you're doing a session, or if you have a client that says, hey, let's go rent out this studio and do a big tracking day, you're going to have something that you can use as a reference in that studio environment, so that you know what's coming out of the studio speakers is really what you should be hearing in reference to what comes out of your headphones where you're comfortable mixing already. All right, number 4, this is gonna sound like I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but I really wish I invested in a quality instrument sooner. I think it's super common for people to get a first instrument and fall in love with making music with some sort of instrument they were gifted. I think it's pretty common that if you're at a young age and you get an instrument and you want to invest in a newer instrument, you kind of save up your money to go and get the first closest possible thing to what you want because the dream guitar is out of reach. I would actually go out and say, save up, get that dream instrument. It's going to suit you better in the long run. And if you had gotten that kind of secondary, entry-level instrument, sure, it might be a step up from what you already have. However, you're going to outgrow it quickly and you're going to want to go after that really nice instrument anyway. On top of that, traditionally speaking, really nice instruments appreciate in value over time. So if you go out and you buy a 1988 blonde Fender Standard American guitar, over the years, that's going to increase in value so long as you take care of it. Now, this isn't really about the value of the instrument. It's more about the payoff of the instrument, which is better tone, better quality, more fun to play, more inspiring to play, and it's going to be something that you're going to really hang on to and cherish the rest of your life. If you're following this channel at all, and maybe you're following my channel, maybe you're following a couple other really awesome content creators' channels about audio recording, there's a high chance that you are a super music fan and you like creating music, you like making music, and you want to record music. Well, I've always found that that's a hobby that only grows in interest, and because of that, you're going to want to expand one day. You're going to want to get a better this, a better that. Maybe you jump into the world of 500 series. Maybe you get a bunch of outboard compressors. Maybe you just simply have a bunch of guitar gear that you want to be able to reroute in and out of your interface for reamping, for anything really. A patch bay is just the simplest, most easiest tool to use. You're just making a connection from one end to the other, so you don't have to reach around the back of your interface to plug stuff in. That alone to me is worth it. Even if you just have your interface on your desktop, it's just a pain to just twist it around, fumbling around back there. And if you can take a look at my desk right now, obviously I've got everything racked up. So if I were to change anything, I'd have to get behind the desk, and that ain't happening. So patch bay is a really strong investment. All right, bonus round, number 6. I would say I wish I invested in a high-end interface a lot sooner. There's so many reasons to jump to a high-end interface, so it's hard to list them all. I think the first thing that I would mention is resaleability, and that sounds really silly to talk about as an interface, but because of this resaleability, that kind of makes it a bit more affordable than it already seems. And with that extra affordability, you get much better sound quality among other advanced features. For example, on the Apollo, you get the DSP capabilities, which makes your system a whole lot more powerful. You also get that real-time monitoring capability. You typically get more I/O, so if you go with something like a Burl interface, right, you're getting the best ADDA out there, you're getting this awesome sounding device, and you're getting all of that I/O that you can use with your patch bay to route and configure however you want. Now again, I'm not knocking budget anything. I think the budget stuff has come so far. It sounds fantastic. However, you're going to get stuck with that device. It's eventually going to be discarded. You're going to put it to the side as you eventually upgrade. Whereas these really high-end interfaces like the Apollo, again, they hold their value. You can go out, you can resell them after a year, 2 years, 3 years, and people will still want them because they're still relevant. And of course, you're going to love the sound quality of all of those. So anyways, that's a bonus tip. Take it for what it is. If you made it this far in the video and you haven't yet subscribed or left a comment, please do so. We greatly appreciate it and we want your feedback. This is a community at NOIZ Hub Media, and consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Cheers.